Hello everyone, my name is Rebecca. Let's talk about makeup. So today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about some recent and upcoming new releases, some of which are really quite hyped in the beauty sphere at the moment. And I'm going to be telling you why I will not be buying these products. So if you are also trying to save your hard-earned cash and hold off on purchasing some of these very buzzed about products, then let me help you and maybe I can talk both of us out of them. So the first product that I wanted to talk about was the new Natasha Denona High Glam Foundation. Now this is everywhere right now. Everybody is talking about it. Everyone's reviews are dropping. I actually had a good hard think about this one. I was quite tempted. And if you have been here for any length of time, you probably know why, and that is because I have talked incessantly about my love for the Natasha Denona Foundation X, which is her old foundation that has now been discontinued. It's still available on her website, but only in very limited shades, and it is no longer available in my shade. This is my second bottle of it, gifted to me by my wonderful husband after I finished my last one and was devastated that I could not get another. He managed to go hunt this down. This is one of my very favorite foundations of all time. I really enjoy this foundation, and I have spoken in the past about really looking forward to seeing what her next foundation release was, in the hopes that it would be something that could replace this in my collection once it is sadly all gone. So I really sat up and paid attention when I saw that she was releasing another foundation, and I was tempted to purchase it, even though the description of this foundation honestly is the opposite of Foundation X, at least in finish. I think both of them, from what I have seen, are pretty high coverage. This one is more of a satin matte, and the one that just dropped is more of a radiant finish. I have seen a few people review this so far, and the ones with dry skin that I have seen review it, to them it is not as radiant as they were hoping for. And for those with oily skin, it is a lot more radiant than they were hoping for. I unfortunately fall into that latter category. I am an oily combo girl, and even though we're going into winter, which is a time of the year where my skin is a little bit more normal and in some places dry occasionally depending on the weather during the winter time, I realized that this just is not the foundation for me. One of my favorite things about the Foundation X is how long wearing it is. One of my favorite things about the Foundation X is how incredibly long wearing it is. Not just how long it stays on my face, but how long it stays on my face looking pretty. It looks pretty on my skin, and it's pretty until the end of the day when I take it off. The High Glam Foundation also claims to be very long wearing. However, I really have my doubts. Now, it's not that I don't like a glowy finish. I actually do quite like a glowy finish from time to time. The problem is because I have oily combo skin, the finish that I start with is not going to be the finish that I end up with. And until someone cracks that code, until someone figures out how to put a radiant foundation on an oily skin type and have it look exactly the same at the end of the day that it did at the beginning of the day, despite the claims that it will balance my oil, I don't think we're there. Technology-wise, I do not think that we're there. I don't think we're at the place where one foundation can really flatter and hydrate a dry skin and control and balance an oily skin. I don't care what the Natasha Denona website claims. I'm not buying it. I don't think we've cracked that code yet. Will we? Maybe in my lifetime. I don't know. I am still waiting for those little, do you guys remember in The Fifth Element, that box that Lilu put up and like it immediately put on all of her eye makeup? I'm still waiting for that to happen. How am I living in 2025 and we don't have those little makeup boxes that'll just put our makeup on for us in like 2 seconds? Come on, people. In any case, I finally decided this is just not the one for me. Okay, moving on. The next thing that everybody is talking about are the Hourglass holiday palettes. Okay. Now listen, up until the last few years, most of the talk in the beauty community about the Hourglass palettes was another 6-pan palette. How many of these do you need? Until they started coming out with these adorable animals on the outer packaging. And I admit, they're gorgeous. That jellyfish palette that they had, beautiful. The swan palette from this year, oh my gosh, gorgeous. I love the artwork, but I do suspect in my heart of hearts that part of the buzz that is surrounding the Hourglass holiday palettes this year and last year are somewhat influenced by our attraction to art and to adorable animals. I think Hourglass knows, and they're using that to make these palettes seem a little bit more attractive than maybe they are or should be. Now, if you have never owned an Hourglass face palette, I do think it is an experience worth experiencing. I have this Hourglass Ghost palette from some years ago at this point that I purchased before they started putting adorable little animals on the front. I'm gonna tell you, I love Hourglass powders. They are, I wouldn't say that they are wholly unique in the marketplace, but they are definitely a very elevated, refined product. You can see I have almost completely used up the bronzer here, and I am working currently on these two blushes. I'll often actually mix them a little bit with these highlighters that are here. Listen, I love Hourglass's powder products, but I almost feel like once you have one palette, you don't need another one. You just think you need another one because something about those cute animals on the outside of the packaging triggers that collector mentality in our brains. All of a sudden, we're out here playing Pokemon, trying to catch them all. And while I'm not going to shame anybody who wants to be a collector of these palettes, you do you, okay? But be aware that that's what you're doing, okay? If you are like me and you want to get the most bang for your buck out of your beauty expenditures throughout the year, a second, third, fourth, or fifth Hourglass palette may not be the best choice for your collection. I also think the fact that these are limited edition holiday releases that sell out every year trigger that FOMO that we have a lot of times with certain makeup releases, making us feel like we need to get in on it too. We don't want to miss out. And I understand that, but guess who else does? Hourglass. That is a very deliberate, conscious choice that Hourglass is making, a marketing decision that they're making, because they know that that feeling of FOMO is going to make some of us purchase a palette that we don't need. And maybe in the end, we don't actually want it all of that much either. We're just responding to those psychological tactics. So no shade to you at all if you want to buy one of this year's holiday palettes from Hourglass, and no judgment if it is not your only one. Just know what you're doing when you press the buy button, okay? And think about what it's gonna add to your collection that you don't already have. I see you, okay? I see you. Now, obviously, no discussion of recent releases would be complete without the elephant in the room, the very expensive elephant in the room that is the new Louis Vuitton beauty collection that has been released. I have seen so much excitement and fury, to be honest. A lot of buzz for sure in the makeup community about these products because of who helped develop these. Pat McGrath was the creative director behind this collection that just recently released, and that is exciting for a lot of people. It's exciting for me because you know I love me some Pat McGrath. Pat McGrath is a legendary makeup artist. I have really enjoyed a lot of the products from her own brand. And so anything that she is involved with, I'm immediately going to be interested in. The fury in a lot of places is coming from the pricing. The pricing is wild. We're talking about $250 for an eyeshadow palette, $160 for a lipstick. Wild pricing. Now listen, they knew what they were doing when they chose this price point. They knew that the buzz that this would generate, and they also knew that this was going to put them in a category outside even what we consider luxury makeup. So when I saw this release, I was intrigued. I'm not gonna lie. I was intrigued by what I saw. I even watched a couple of reviews. I liked what I saw there as well. However, I had to have a really good think about who Louis Vuitton is trying to reach with this release and how that contrasts with essentially who I am. Who I think Louis Vuitton is trying to reach with this release is the group of people for whom these type of prices are as insignificant to them as a Milani lipstick is to me. That is one part of the market that they are attempting to reach, and I'm sure that they're going to do that just fine. The other group of people, the somewhat larger, I think, group of people that they're attempting to reach are the people for whom this is a significant expenditure, but they are attracted to the luxury and the prestige around owning this type of makeup. I don't fall into either category. Teacher Rebecca here. So listen, if you don't feel like you fit into either of those two categories I just mentioned, don't feel like I'm telling you you don't exist or that these products are not for you. This is just my assessment of the two major groups I think Louis Vuitton is specifically targeting in their marketing decisions, and everything else on top of that is gravy. So if these products are not a financial hardship for you in any way, go be gravy. Don't let me stop you. I don't fall into either category. I need to be realistic with who I am. I am a middle-aged suburban mom with a few bougie tendencies, okay? I make YouTube videos with my bedroom in the background. Let's be realistic here. For me, purchasing a single thing from this collection would put a significant dent in my yearly beauty budget. Yearly, not monthly, yearly. And I know a lot of you are in the same position as well. So this really wasn't even something that I seriously considered because I'm simply not the person that Louis Vuitton is trying to reach with this release. Could I purchase these? Sure. Would those products add something to my current collection commensurate with the cost for me? And the answer for that is no, it wouldn't. I don't think that there is anything about these lipsticks or these eyeshadows that I'm going to enjoy that much more than what I already have to justify that kind of price, and the inability I will have to buy other things instead if I went ahead and purchased some of this collection. So like many of you, I'm sure, this is a no from me, dog. Something that I did heavily consider. This is not the most recent of releases, so it may not still be on your brain. This released a little bit ago as far as the beauty news cycle goes. And those were the Huda Beauty Lip Stain Lip Contour Pens. This actually was pretty tempting for me. I decided to hold off initially because I didn't see a color that I thought was really going to be flattering for me, my undertone, and the way I like to do my makeup. So I held off long enough that the initial excitement of the release wore off a little bit, and then I saw that NYX had come out with their own version, which they're calling the Lip Lingerie Lip Liner Stain. And immediately Huda was forgotten because I saw some swatches of that one, and in it I saw a couple of colors that I think are much closer to something that I'm going to enjoy, and it's going to incorporate well into my makeup routine. So spoiler alert, I'm holding out for the NYX. I don't think that's going to be an immediate purchase, but I do think that release is going to make the Huda a little moot for me. Alongside the Natasha Denona foundation release, a couple more foundations dropped, which I think is a little unusual for the fall season. I usually don't see a lot of base products dropping in the fall. Usually, I think we get most of those in the spring and summer, but we have gotten a new one from Charlotte Tilbury, which is a reformulation of her old foundation, and the Benefit Professional. I have seen positive reviews on both of those foundations. Both of them seem a little more along the lines of something that would be appropriate for my skin type than the Natasha Denona. A little less glowy, a little more long wearing, still some really good solid coverage. Both of them really kind of check the boxes for something that I probably would enjoy. The reason why I will not be picking up either of them is because of something that I only recently started thinking about after listening to, who was it? I think it was the Style Stumbler. I will link her channel below. She talks often about shopping and spending habits, particularly as they relate to makeup. One of the things that she pointed out, which should be pretty obvious, is every new purchase removes your ability to enjoy the things that you already have. And I have found for myself that if I already am super excited about something and I purchase another thing in that category, generally speaking, I don't maintain my excitement for that original product. So if there's an eyeshadow palette I'm really excited about, for instance, and I'm really, really enjoying it, and then something new and shiny comes along and I purchase that as well, I'm not using and enjoying both of these things equally. I move on from one to the other. Now, that's not necessarily a problem, but what I've realized is in some cases what I'm doing is I'm cutting my excitement for a product short of its natural lifespan. Earlier this year, I think it was in April, I purchased the Huda Beauty Easy Blur Foundation and really enjoyed it. I loved that foundation. I still do. I still love this foundation, but I haven't gone back to it and really gotten the enjoyment out of that product that I would like to. because in July, I purchased another foundation that I ended up also really loving. And I'm so stuck on that most recent purchase right now. I cannot persuade myself to put it down and go back to the Huda, even though I may enjoy the Huda just as much, possibly even more. And I find that kind of a little sad. I didn't give the Huda the attention that really it deserved for something that I was enjoying so much. And purchasing another foundation that I really loved didn't multiply my enjoyment. My enjoyment is the same. It just moved from the Huda to the new foundation. We can also call this shiny object syndrome. And now that I'm more aware of that, thank you, Style Stumbler, and how that factors into my use of and enjoyment of the products in my collection, I want to get as much dopamine as possible out of the thing that I am currently excited about before moving on to the next shiny thing. So that is the primary reason I will not be picking up either the Charlotte Tilbury foundation or the Benefit foundation. I'd like to spend a little bit more quality time with the products I'm excited about right now. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is kind of a silly one, but I'm throwing it in here for fun. And that is the Prada soap and hand cream. Soap is one of those things that I hate having to spend money on, but I do anyway because we need clean hands. But the amount of money that I have to spend on soap to keep this household somewhat sanitary is ridiculous. The idea of spending more of it for fun, for funsies, is ridiculous to me. Now, if this was something that you were going to carry with you on the go, although I don't think it would be very practical to do so, I kind of feel like this is almost something that you put in your guest bathroom in order for it to look bougie, except for it's only going to look bougie for a very short period of time, just a few hand washes, and it's not going to look as bougie anymore. Also, when I'm out on the go, trying to wash my grimy 3-year-old's hands, okay, with a baby strapped to my chest, the one thing I'm thinking for sure is if only this was designer soap, if only this soap was a little bit more top shelf, if only it was more expensive, that would solve a lot of my problems. That is definitely the forefront of my mind when I'm trying to hold 2 dirty little hands under the faucet. In any case, obviously, like the Louis Vuitton, the Prada soap and the hand cream associated with it, they are not aimed at me. So this was a no for me. So those are a handful of recent and upcoming releases that I have chosen to opt out of. Okay, so a couple of things that I might buy. I think I'm probably going to pick up some Morphe products pretty soon here. I have been watching all of their new releases in this new wave of Morphe products that has been happening since they changed ownership. And you guys, it looks pretty good. I have never in my life, I was paying attention through the 2015, 16, 17, the Morphe heyday. I 100% lived through that without feeling any inclination toward that brand whatsoever. They just never were attractive enough for me to actually go out and purchase any of that brand. With the exception of the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. I have bought many bottles of that. I'm currently working through a jumbo size right now. Really, really love that spray. Will continue to repurchase. I also have a couple of their brushes just by chance. I think an angled brush and a little silicone tool that is really actually quite clever and useful for applying those more flaky and emollient eyeshadows. But yeah, those are the only Morphe products I own. Just was not intrigued enough by the brand to try more until now. So I have not yet purchased any of the newer Morphe products that have come out, but I can feel it. It is coming. I have really become increasingly interested with each release that they have had since they changed ownership, and I think some Morphe purchases are probably in my future. Another thing that I may purchase something from Amrezy's new brand. I was a little surprised to hear the name Amrezy again. I know she didn't die. She didn't go in a hole. She didn't leave the beauty community. But her name was so spoken in 2015, 2016, 2017, but significantly less so since then. So I was surprised to see her collection drop recently, and it is looking, as some other influencers have noticed, it is looking very 2016, 2017 coded. And some people have spoken about it as in, this looks old. This looks old, this looks dated. But The 2016-17 vibe that this release is putting out is kind of why I'm interested. You guys, makeup was so fun back in 2016, 2017. Beauty YouTube was so fun during that time, barring all of the obnoxious controversies, etc. Those are all exhausting and toxic. But the makeup styles that we were doing, they were so fun and artistic and expressive. I'm sure you can tell by the way I'm wearing my makeup now that I never quite fully left that era. I really, really enjoy that style of makeup. I enjoyed that little spot in beauty history, and I miss it. Amrezy's new collection brings that back for me in all of the right ways. So, do I think her collection is going to offer anything new and revolutionary? No, I don't think so. I'm very curious if it's going to bring us that 2017 aesthetic, but with more modern, updated formulas. That's what I'm really interested to see. Is it going to feel like a blast from the past in a bad way, like these formulas feel very dated? Or are they things that formula-wise are going to fit better into our 2025 reality? I'm very, very curious and maybe making a purchase from that collection. A couple of things that I shouldn't buy, but probably will. One of them is the Charlotte Tilbury Instant Look face palettes. She has come out with a couple of Instant Look face palettes for the holidays that look gorgeous, and you know how weak I am for face palettes. Of all of the face palettes that I'm seeing coming out for the holidays, and the holidays are face palette season. There are so many of them right now, but the Charlotte Tilbury ones are the most attractive to me so far. I like the look of them better than the NARS, better than the Hourglass. One of those palettes may be coming home with me. We shall see. One that I am significantly more certain of will be coming home with me is the Danessa Myricks Blurring Balm Powder Setting Spray that she just recently announced. I'm so excited about this. I love Danessa Myricks products. All of the Danessa Myricks products that I have tried to this point have felt so unique and innovative, and that is unusual in a beauty marketplace where it feels like everyone is just duping each other. So I'm really very excited about this particular release. Now, you're probably asking, Rebecca, why shouldn't you buy it? And that's because I can see 4 setting sprays sitting right over there. I do not need a 5th. I don't need a 5th, okay? Am I going to buy a 5th? Almost certainly. I'm really, really interested in this particular product, especially because I loved her blurring balm powder so much. The shade Universal is my absolute holy grail mattifying primer. It is a lifesaver for an oily combo girl like me. In the summertime, it helps control shine like nothing else that I have ever tried. But I do think I'm going to end up picking up this new setting spray from Danessa. And those are all of the products I'm going to not purchase, probably purchase, and shouldn't purchase, but probably will. I hope this was helpful to you in some way, especially if you're like me, trying to talk yourself out of some of these more hyped releases. And I appreciate you spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next one.